Snowstorm, not knowing he was a vampire king frozen for a century. The radio crackled to life at 11:47 p.m., just as Mara was about to end her shift. Unit 7, we have a signal from Route 39, near the old Timber Road. Single caller, disconnected after 10 seconds. Can you respond? Mara glanced at the blizzard battering her ambulance windows. The snow fell so thick she could barely see the hospital parking lot lights. Route 39 was 20 minutes into the mountains, 30 in this weather. Maybe longer. Copy that. En route, she turned the key, and the engine growled reluctantly to life. Her partner, Josh, had called in sick 3 hours ago. She was alone. Not ideal, but she'd handled worse. The drive was brutal. Her windshield wipers fought a losing battle against the snow. The road twisted higher, the trees closing in on both sides like skeletal hands. Twice, the ambulance skidded, and her heart hammered until the tires found grip again. When she reached the location, there was nothing. No car.
No lights.
Just an empty stretch of road swallowed by white. She radioed dispatch. Unit 7. I'm at the coordinates. No visual on. Then she saw it. A faint shape, 20 feet off the road, half buried in snow near the tree line. Mara grabbed her med kit and flashlight, forcing the door open against the wind. The cold slammed into her like a fist. She trudged forward, her boots sinking deep with every step. The shape was a man. He lay on his back, eyes closed, arms at his sides. No coat, just a long black jacket, old-fashioned, with silver embroidery along the collar. His skin was pale, almost luminous against the snow. No visible injuries. No blood. Sir, can you hear me? She knelt beside him, pulling off her glove to check his pulse. Nothing. Her stomach dropped. She pressed harder, repositioning her fingers. Still nothing. But his skin wasn't cold.
It was warm.
Warmer than it should be. She checked his airway, tilted his head back.
No breath.
No chest movement. This didn't make sense. Then she noticed the ring. It sat on his right hand, a thick silver band with a red stone carved into the shape of a crown. The stone glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Heat radiated from it, melting the snow in a perfect circle around his hand. Mara stared. She'd seen a lot of strange things in 10 years as a paramedic, but never anything like this. She should call for backup. Protocol said wait for support. But the wind howled, and the snow was rising fast. If she waited, he'd be buried. Dead, if he wasn't already. She made the call. Dispatch, I've got an unresponsive male, late 20s, no pulse. Severe hypothermia likely. I'm loading him now. It took all her strength to drag him onto the stretcher. He was heavier than he looked, dense, like his bones were made of iron. She managed to strap him in and wheel him back to the ambulance, her muscles screaming. Inside, she cranked the heat and started in 4-line. His veins were easy to find, dark blue beneath marble-pale skin. The needle slid in smoothly. But when she tried to draw blood, nothing came out. She stared at the empty syringe. Tried again. Same result. What the hell? She hooked him up to the heart monitor. The machine beeped. Once, twice, then flatlined. But the screen flickered strangely, showing brief spikes of activity before going silent again. Mara's hands trembled. She'd seen corpses with more life signs. As she reached for the defibrillator paddles, the ring on his finger flared bright red. A surge of heat rolled through the ambulance, thick, electric, alive. It wrapped around her wrist like invisible fingers and plunged straight into her chest. She gasped, stumbling backward. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. The air shimmered, and for one impossible second, she felt something vast and ancient rushing through her veins, like an ocean pouring into a glass. Then it was gone. The ambulance fell silent. The heat faded. The ring dimmed to a faint glow. Mara pressed a hand to her chest, breathing hard. Her skin tingled. Her pulse raced. She looked at the man on the stretcher. His eyes were open. Mara froze. They were silver. Not gray, silver, like polished metal, glowing faintly in the dark. He stared at the ceiling unblinking, his expression unreadable. Then, slowly, his head turned toward her. You. His voice was low, rough, like gravel scraping stone. You pulled me out. Mara's mouth went dry. You were unconscious. I'm a paramedic. I'm taking you to the hospital. He sat up. The straps snapped like thread. No. He swung his legs off the stretcher, moving with eerie grace.
No hospitals.
Sir, you need medical attention? I need nothing, he stood, towering over her in the cramped space. His gaze locked onto hers, and she felt pinned, like a moth under glass. What is your name? Mara, the word came out automatically, against her better judgment. He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Mara, he repeated it slowly, tasting each syllable. You have made a grave mistake tonight. Her hand moved toward the door handle. Look, I don't know what. You saved my life. He stepped closer, his shadow swallowing the light. Do you understand what that means? It means you're welcome? Her voice cracked. It means, he said softly, that you are bound to me now. By ancient law. By magic older than your bloodline, he raised his hand, showing her the ring. The red stone pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. I am Alaric, king of the Covenant of Night. And you, Mara, have just awakened something the world tried very hard to keep asleep. The ambulance lights flickered. Outside, shadows moved between the trees, tall, fast, and human. Alaric's expression darkened. They've found us already, he looked at her, and for the first time, something almost like regret crossed his face. Hold on. Wait, what? The back doors exploded inward. Mara didn't remember the drive back. One moment, the doors were exploding inward, dark figures pouring through. The next, she was gripping the steering wheel, her knuckles white, the ambulance skidding into the hospital emergency bay. Alaric sat calmly in the passenger seat, his silver eyes watching the road.
What?
What happened back there? Her voice shook. I removed the threat, he said it like commenting on the weather. Removed? Those were people. No, he turned to her. They weren't. Before she could respond, 2 nurses rushed out with a wheelchair. Mara's supervisor, Linda, followed close behind, her face tight with concern. Mara, thank God. We lost your signal for 15 minutes. Are you hurt? I'm fine, the lie came automatically. But he needs. I need nothing, Alaric interrupted smoothly. However, I would appreciate a place to rest. Briefly. Linda's eyes narrowed at his archaic speech, but she nodded. Let's get you both inside. They set him up in room 8, the farthest from the nurse's station. Mara knew she should go home, file her report, sleep. Instead, she found herself volunteering to monitor him overnight. You sure? Linda asked. You've been on for 12 hours. I'm sure. Something in her chest pulled tight whenever she thought about leaving, like an invisible thread connecting her to the man in room 8. By midnight, the hospital had quieted. Mara sat in the monitoring station, staring at Alaric's charts on the computer screen. Blood pressure, error. Heart rate, invalid data. Temperature, reading failure. Every test had failed. Dr. Patel had drawn blood twice. The samples turned black within minutes, dissolving into nothing. The MRI machine had sparked and died when they tried to scan him. This is impossible, Dr. Patel had muttered, shaking his head. I'm ordering him transferred to County General in the morning. They have better equipment. But Mara knew better equipment wouldn't help. She checked the hallway, empty, then slipped into room 8. Alaric sat upright in bed, fully dressed, staring at the window. He didn't turn when she entered. You should leave this place, he said quietly, before they come again.
Who?
Those things in the woods. My enemies. They have been waiting a century for my return. He finally looked at her. And now they know you are the key. Key to what? To everything. He stood, moving to the window. When you saved me, you triggered an ancient law, the covenant of life debt. Any mortal who saves the king's life is granted one gift. One miracle. Anything within the boundaries of magic and power. Mara's breath caught. That's insane. Is it? More insane than a man with no pulse? Than shadows that hunt in the snow? He turned, his expression grave. You can ask for wealth, immortality, power over nations. You can reshape reality itself, within limits.
I don't want any of that.
I just want. The lights went out. Emergency backup kicked in, bathing the room in red. An alarm shrieked somewhere down the hall. Alaric's eyes flashed silver. They're here. The door burst open. Two figures stood silhouetted in the hallway, tall, unnaturally thin, their faces hidden beneath dark hoods. One carried a curved blade that seemed to drink the light. Alaric the Fallen, one hissed. Your reign ended a century ago. The girl dies tonight. No, Alaric said simply. He moved. Mara didn't see him cross the room. He simply appeared in front of her, his hand extended. The first attacker's blade stopped inches from his palm, held in place by nothing but air. The second lunged. Alaric caught it by the throat with his free hand, lifted it effortlessly, and threw it through the window. Glass exploded outward. The creature's scream faded as it fell 4 stories. The first attacker snarled, yanking its blade free. She's marked you, King. Made you weak. Mortal attachment is. Alaric's hand shot forward, faster than sight. The creature froze, eyes wide, then crumbled to ash. The blade clattered to the floor. Silence. Mara pressed against the wall, her heart hammering.
What?
What were those? Rebels. Vampires who want the throne, he turned to her, and she saw something dangerous in his eyes. And they're right about one thing.
You have marked me.
The bond formed during the rescue. It ties your life to my power. As long as you live, I cannot be truly killed. And as long as I exist, you cannot escape this world. That's not fair. I was just doing my job. I know for the first time. His expression softened. I am sorry, but the covenant cannot be undone. You are part of this now, he moved to the door. We need to leave. More will come. I can't just my family, my job. Will mean nothing if you're dead, he looked back at her. Choose quickly, Mara. Stay and die, or come with me and live long enough to claim your gift. Perhaps use it to free yourself. Footsteps echoed in the stairwell. Multiple sets. Moving fast. Alaric extended his hand. Trust me. One more time. Mara looked at his hand, at the glowing ring, at the impossible choice. She took it. They escaped through the hospital's underground morgue. Alaric moved like he'd done this 1,000 times before, navigating service corridors and forgotten stairwells with absolute certainty. Mara struggled to keep up, her sneakers squeaking on cold tile. How do you know this place? She panted. All hospitals have the same bones. The same hidden places. He pushed through a heavy door marked authorized personnel only. The same exits the dead use. The tunnel beyond was narrow, lined with old pipes and flickering lights. It smelled of concrete and something else, something old and mineral, like stones buried deep underground. Behind them, doors crashed open. Shouts echoed. They're persistent, Alaric muttered. He pulled her into a side passage, pressing them both against the wall. His hand covered her mouth. Silent, he whispered. 3 figures ran past, blurs of shadow and pale skin. Mara's heart hammered so loud, she was certain they'd hear it. They didn't stop. When the footsteps faded, Alaric released her. We have perhaps 10 minutes before they realize their mistake. Where are we going? Somewhere they cannot follow. Not immediately, he started walking again. Faster now. But first, you need to understand what's truly at stake. They emerged into an abandoned subway station, old, forgotten, the kind the city had sealed off decades ago. Alaric led her down to the platform, where a single camping lantern sat glowing beside a sleeping bag and supplies. You've been planning this, Mara realized. I've been awake for 3 days, moving supplies while you worked your shifts. He lit 2 more lanterns, illuminating crumbling tile walls covered in faded advertisements from the 1950s. I knew they would find us. I needed a sanctuary. He gestured for her to sit. Reluctantly, she did. Alaric remained standing, his hands clasped behind his back like a general addressing troops. The gift you are owed, it is not simply magic. It is the anchoring law of our entire civilization. For 3,000 years, it has prevented chaos. How? Because it makes killing a king catastrophically stupid, his lips curved into a humorless smile. Any vampire who slays the monarch knows a mortal will eventually save them. Resurrection is part of our curse. And that mortal will gain ultimate power. Power that could destroy us all. Mara's stomach twisted. So, your enemies. They want to kill me before I can use the gift to help you. Precisely. But it's more complicated than that. He began pacing, his shadows stretching across the walls. The rebels who attacked us tonight? They're led by someone called the Ash Prince, a vampire who believes our kind should rule openly, subjugate humanity entirely. He froze me a century ago using a spell timed to the solar eclipse. What happens during the eclipse? The spell breaks regardless. I return to full power, or die permanently if the Ash Prince can destroy me before the transition completes. He stopped, meeting her eyes. The eclipse is in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Mara's mouth went dry. And the gift? What are my actual options? Alaric crouched before her, suddenly close. You could restore my full power immediately, end the war in a single stroke. You could erase vampires from existence entirely. You could make yourself immortal, become like us. He paused. You could free humanity from ever being influenced by supernatural creatures again. Remove our ability to entrance, to feed, to touch mortal lives. Each option felt heavier than the last. That's deciding the fate of 2 species. Yes, his voice was gentle. That is exactly what it is. And why they want you dead. A sound echoed through the tunnel, distant but growing closer. Scratching. Multiple sources. Alaric stood instantly, his posture shifting. They've found the station. Already. The Ash Prince is not a fool. He will have sent dozens. He moved to the platform's edge, peering into the dark tunnel. We cannot fight them all. Not here. Then what do we do? He turned back to her, and something in his expression had changed. Softer. Almost sad. I am going to teach you the first rule of surviving my world, Mar. What's that? Run. The scratching became a roar. Shapes poured from the tunnel, dozens of them, moving like spiders, their eyes reflecting the lantern light in shades of red and gold and poison green. Alaric grabbed her hand. The ring on his finger flared hot. Hold your breath, he commanded. Why? The world lurched. Darkness swallowed them. Not the darkness of the tunnel, but something absolute, like being pulled through freezing water. Mara's lungs burned. Her vision sparked. Then they were somewhere else. She collapsed onto grass, gasping. Stars blazed overhead. Too many stars, brighter than she'd ever seen. Alaric knelt beside her, breathing hard. For the first time, he looked tired. Where? She wheezed. Where are we? Safe, he said quietly. For now. Mara sat up and froze. They were in a graveyard, and standing among the tombstones were 7 figures in dark cloaks, perfectly still, watching them with ancient, hungry eyes. Alaric's hand moved to a weapon she hadn't noticed, a blade at his belt. Not safe, he corrected grimly. My mistake. The 7 figures didn't attack. They bowed. As one, they dropped to their knees, heads lowered, fists pressed to their hearts. The gesture was synchronized, ritualistic, practiced over centuries. My king, the center figure spoke, pulling back her hood. She was young, or appeared young, maybe 20, with sharp features and hair like spilled ink. We have waited so long. Alaric's grip on his blade loosened, but he didn't sheath it. Celeste, you survived. Many of us survived. She rose gracefully, her eyes flicking to Mara. Though we scattered like ash in wind, Is this truly her? The one who holds your debt? She is. A ripple moved through the group. Whispers. Shifting postures. One vampire, an older man with silver threading his beard, stepped forward. Then the rumors are true. The Ash Prince will move against her with everything. He already has. Constantine Alaric finally sheathed his blade. Twice tonight. We need sanctuary. True sanctuary. Celeste nodded. The chapel in the mountains. 3 hours north. We can. No, Constantine's voice cut through. The Ash Prince has spies in every territory. The moment we move, he'll know. He looked at Mara with something between pity and calculation. Unless we use the old ways. The paths beneath. Alaric's jaw tightened. The tunnels haven't been maintained in decades. But they still exist. And they're still hidden. Celeste moved closer, her voice urgent. My king, we have 3 weeks until the eclipse. 3 weeks to keep her alive and help her choose. The surface world is compromised. Below, we have a chance. Mara found her voice. Wait, I don't get a say in this. 7 pairs of eyes turned to her. The weight of their attention was physical, oppressive. You do, Alaric said quietly. But understand, every moment we delay, more enemies find us. Every moment you're visible, you're a target. He moved to stand beside her, a barrier between her and his court. The underground network connects sanctuaries across 1,000 miles. Train stations, bunkers, old mining operations, places humanity forgot. We can move constantly, stay ahead of the hunters. And my family? My life. We'll be there when this ends. If you survive. The bluntness stung. Mara wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold. I didn't ask for any of this. I know, Alaric's voice softened. But we rarely get to choose our burdens. Only how we carry them. Constantine cleared his throat. My king, if I may, the girl needs to understand what she's walking into. The network isn't empty. During your absence, the kingdom fractured into dozens of factions. Some still loyal, some neutral, some he trailed off meaningfully. Some waiting to see which way the wind blows, Celeste finished. They'll test her, question her, try to influence her choice. Let them try, Alaric said flatly. The covenant protects her will. No vampire can compel her decision. But they can terrify her into one, Constantine countered. They can show her horrors, paint pictures of futures. A frightened mortal makes rash choices. Mara's hands curled into fists. I'm standing right here, and I'm not that easy to scare. Celeste's lips quirked. She has spine. Good. She'll need it. The nearest entrance? Alaric asked. 2 miles east. Abandoned train maintenance depot. Constantine pulled out an old brass compass, its needles spinning erratically before settling. But we need to move now. I can feel them searching. The Ash Prince's hunters. They're sweeping the city in a grid pattern. Alaric nodded. Then we go. Celeste, Constantine, you're with us. The rest scatter and regroup at the Chapel of Bones. Tell no one where we've gone. The other 5 vampires melted into shadows, disappearing so completely Mara wasn't sure they'd been real. They ran. Not the desperate sprint from the hospital, but a steady, ground-eating pace that Mara struggled to match. Celeste ran beside her, occasionally taking her arm to help her over rough terrain. You saved him, Celeste said softly. In the snow. You pulled him out. I didn't know what he was. Would it have mattered? Mara thought about that. About the Hippocratic Oath. About why she became a paramedic. No, she admitted. I don't think it would have. Celeste smiled, the first genuine expression Mara had seen from any vampire. Then perhaps there's hope after all. The maintenance depot loomed ahead, a skeletal building of rusted metal and broken windows. Constantine led them to a freight elevator shaft, the cables long since rotted away. Down, he said simply, and stepped into empty air. He fell, and kept falling, disappearing into darkness. Celeste went next, graceful as a diver. Alaric turned to Mara. Trust me? Before she could answer, shouts erupted behind them. Figures emerged from the tree line, too many to count, moving fast. Alaric grabbed her hand. They jumped. The fall lasted forever and no time at all. Wind roared past, then suddenly, water. They crashed into an underground river, the current immediately seizing them. Mara surfaced, gasping, and saw lights ahead. Not lanterns. Not flashlights. An entire city, glowing beneath the earth. The underground city was nothing like Mara expected. Instead of crumbling ruins, she found herself in a vast cavern lit by thousands of bioluminescent fungi that clung to the ceiling like stars. Stone buildings rose from the cavern floor, ancient, elegant, carved directly from stalagmites. Bridges arched over underground streams. Market stalls lined winding streets. And everywhere, vampires. Hundreds of them, going about their lives. Trading. Talking. Living in a world that existed in the cracks beneath humanity's feet. "Welcome to Eternal Hollow," Celeste said, wringing water from her hair. "The first sanctuary, built 3,000 years ago."
It's
"Beautiful," Mara whispered. "It's also compromised," Constantine muttered, scanning the crowds. "Too many unknown faces. Too many strangers." Alaric helped Mara out of the water, his hand steady on her arm. She was shaking from cold, from adrenaline, from the sheer impossibility of everything. "The castle is 2 days' travel from here," he said. "But we need supplies. Information," his eyes swept the cavern. "And I need to see how far my kingdom has truly fallen." They moved through the city, drawing stairs. Whispers followed in their wake. Mara caught fragments. "Can't be him. The girl with the debt. Ash Prince will burn this place." An old woman stepped into their path. Her eyes were milky white, her face a map of wrinkles. "King of nothing," she rasped. "You should have stayed dead." Alaric stopped. "Grandmother Thorn. Still bitter, I see." "Bitter?" She laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Your absence created chaos. Your return will create war. And this girl," she pointed a gnarled finger at Mara, "will drown us all in whatever choice she makes." "That's enough," Celeste said sharply. But Thorn wasn't finished. "The dead is a poison, girl. Every gift ever granted has ended in blood. Kings restored to power who become tyrants. Mortals granted immortality who go mad. One woman asked to end all vampire violence. She erased memory itself from our kind. We spent decades relearning language, history, our own names." Mara's stomach churned. "I don't want to hurt anyone." Neither did they. Thorn's blind eyes somehow found hers. "But power on that scale cannot be controlled. Cannot be predicted." She stepped back. "Choose wisely. Or better yet, refuse the gift entirely and let fate decide." "Can she do that?" Mara asked as they walked away. "Theoretically," Alaric said. "But refusing a debt means it transfers. To your bloodline. Your children. Your children's children. Eventually someone claims it. So, I'm damned either way." He didn't answer. They reached a tavern carved into an enormous mushroom stem. Inside, a dozen vampires sat drinking dark liquid from crystal glasses. All conversations stopped when Alaric entered. Then slowly they stood. Some bowed. Others simply stared. A woman approached, tall, regal, wearing armor that looked medieval. "My king. I'm Captain Lyris. I led your Eastern Guard," her voice cracked. "Before the freeze." "Lyris," Alaric gripped her shoulder. "I remember. You held the mountain pass for 3 days. 3 days that didn't matter." Bitterness laced her words. "The Ash Prince still won. Still locked you away." Her eyes slid to Mara. "Is it true? She can restore you. If she chooses. Then convince her." Lyris leaned in, urgent. "Because he's not waiting for the eclipse. The Ash Prince attacked 3 days ago." Alaric went very still. "Attacked where?" "Everywhere. Small cells hit and run. But yesterday," Lyris pulled out a tablet. Its screen cracked. She pulled up a news article. "Yesterday, he went public." Mara read the headline, and her blood turned to ice. "Gas leak explosion destroys homes in Millbrook District." Below it, a photo. Her street. Her house, or what was left of it. Just rubble and emergency vehicles. No, she whispered.
No, no, no.
Your family evacuated 2 hours before, Constantine said quickly, pulling up another screen. We have contacts in the police. Your mother, father, younger sister, all safe. In protective custody, though they don't know it. Mara's legs gave out. Alaric caught her, lowering her into a chair. He did this, she said numbly. Because of me. Because of the debt, Alaric corrected. Because you represent a threat to his coup. Same thing, tears burned her eyes. My family could have died. Because I pulled you out of the snow. Guilt crashed over her in waves. She'd saved one life and endangered everyone she loved. Alaric knelt before her. Listen to me. This is not your fault. You acted with compassion. With duty. The Ash Prince is the monster, not you. But if you hadn't, I would be dead. And the Ash Prince would already rule, with no one to stop him. His silver eyes held hers. You didn't start this war, Mar. But you might be the only one who can end it. Lyris stepped forward. The castle is secure. Most of the loyal court has gathered there. But we need you both.
Soon.
Before. The tavern door exploded inward. A figure stood in the entrance, wreathed in smoke. Its voice echoed with unnatural power. The Ash Prince sends his regards, false king. And his mercy. Surrender the girl, and your death will be quick. Alaric rose, his blade singing free. Tell your master I have a message for him too. What message? He smiled, cold, terrible, every inch the ancient king. Come and take her. The messenger never got to deliver Alaric's response. Celeste moved first, her blade finding the vampire's throat before anyone else could react. The creature dissolved into ash, its final scream echoing through the cavern. We need to leave, she said flatly.
Now.
They ran through Eternal Hollow's winding streets, the city erupting into chaos behind them. Alarms rang, ancient bells that vibrated through stone. Vampires scattered, some fleeing, others arming themselves. The northern tunnel, Constantine shouted over the noise. It's our only shot. They plunged into a narrow passageway, leaving the city's glow behind. For hours they moved through absolute darkness, guided only by the vampire's supernatural sight and Alaric's firm grip on Mara's hand. When they finally emerged, dawn was breaking above ground. The castle stood against the sunrise, a gothic skeleton of towers and walls, perched on a cliff that overlooked a valley shrouded in mist. It looked like something from a nightmare, beautiful and terrible in equal measure. Home, Alaric said quietly. What's left of it? Inside, the loyal court had gathered. 50 vampires, maybe 60, standing in a throne room where dust covered everything and the tapestries hung in tatters. It was a kingdom in ruins. But when Alaric entered, they all knelt. My king, they said as one. Mara stood at his side, feeling like an imposter. These creatures had waited a century. She'd known Alaric for 3 days. He addressed them from the broken throne, his voice carrying through the hall. The Ash Prince has forced our hand. He's attacking mortals. Destroying lives, his eyes found Mara's. He will not stop until the dead is claimed or destroyed. Then let her claim it, someone shouted. Restore your power. End this. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. It's her choice, Alaric said firmly. No one pressures her. No one influences her. That is my decree. But as the days passed, Mara felt the weight of their hope, their fear, their desperation. Every vampire in the castle knew her decision would reshape their world. On the 3rd night, she found Alaric alone in the tower library, surrounded by ancient books. Can't sleep? He asked without looking up. Can you? He smiled faintly. Haven't needed to sleep in 800 years. But I remember what insomnia felt like. He closed the book.
Seat.
Please. She sat across from him, pulling her knees to her chest. Tell me the truth. What do you want me to choose? I can't. Not as a king. As Alaric. The person she met his eyes. What do you want? He was silent for a long moment. Outside, the wind howled through broken windows. Peace, he finally said. I want peace. For all of us, he stood, moving to the window. I have ruled for 8 centuries, Mara. I've seen empires rise and fall. I've made hard choices, cruel choices, sacrificed individuals for the species. And I'm tired. Then why not let me restore your power? End the war? Because power doesn't create peace. It just postpones violence, he turned to face her. The Ash Prince is a symptom, not the disease. Our kind, we're predators. We live on the edge of humanity, taking what we need to survive. That creates friction. Always. Forever. So, what's the answer? I don't know, his voice dropped to barely a whisper. But I've been thinking about something. An option no one has mentioned. What? He moved closer, and in the moonlight, he looked almost human. Use the gift to erase me. Completely. Remove me from existence, past and present. Mara's breath caught. That would kill you. More than that. It would unmake me. The Ash Prince's rebellion exists because of me, because there's a throne to fight for. Remove me, and the war has no purpose. The debt fulfills itself. You go free. The vampires scatter, leaderless, but alive. No, the word came out fierce. That's not an option. Why not? Because it's suicide dressed up as strategy. She stood, anger flaring hot in her chest. You said the gift is mine to choose. Not yours. And I'm not going to choose murder. Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, maybe even relief. Then what will you choose? I don't know yet, she moved to the window beside him. But I keep thinking about what Grandmother Thorne said. About how every gift ends in blood. Maybe that's because everyone tries to fix things with force.
Power.
Control. What's the alternative? Change the rules themselves, the idea was forming as she spoke. You said vampires are predators. That feeding creates violence. What if they didn't need to feed? Or couldn't turn others? What if the cycle just stopped? Alaric stared at her. You're talking about fundamentally altering our nature. I'm talking about evolution. Forced, maybe, but evolution. It would destroy everything our civilization is built on. Hierarchy.
Power.
Bloodlines. Good, Mara met his eyes. Because your civilization is eating itself alive. And taking innocent people with it. Before Alaric could respond, the door burst open. Lyris stood there, her face pale. They're here. The Ash Prince's army.
Hundreds of them.
And the eclipse. She looked at the window, where the moon was beginning to slide across the sun's face. It's starting early. Alaric's expression hardened. That's impossible. We have a week. Apparently not. Lyris drew her sword. He's accelerating it somehow. My king, what are your orders? Alaric looked at Mara. Do you know what you want? She thought of her family's destroyed home. Of the vampires kneeling in hope. Of Alaric, willing to erase himself for peace. Yes, she said. I know exactly what I want. The Ash Prince arrived with the darkening sun. Mara watched from the tower as his army flooded the valley, a sea of shadows moving with predatory grace. Hundreds of vampires, all bearing his sigil, a crown consumed by flames. He brought everyone, Constantine muttered beside her. Every rebel, every mercenary, every vampire with a grudge. How many do we have? Mara asked. 63. Lyris's jaw was tight. We're outnumbered 10-1. The castle defenders lined the walls, weapons drawn. Ancient swords, crossbows, even a few modern rifles. Mara felt useless. She had no combat training, no supernatural strength. Just a debt that could reshape the world, and a choice that terrified her. Alaric stood at the battlements, watching the army approach. The eclipse had transformed the sky into a ring of fire, the sun dying behind the moon. His silver eyes reflected that strange light. He's coming, Alaric said quietly. A figure emerged from the army, tall, impossibly beautiful, with hair like white flame and eyes that burned gold. He wore armor that seemed made of darkness itself, shifting and flowing like liquid shadow. The Ash Prince. Alaric the Fallen. His voice boomed across the valley, amplified by magic. Your time is over. The eclipse weakens you. Your court is a joke. And the mortal girl, his eyes found Mara on the tower. She's the only thing keeping you alive. How pathetic. Still talking, Cassius? Alaric called back. A century hasn't improved your wit. Cassius's smile was cruel. Surrender her. Let her choose to end you peacefully. I'll even let your loyalists live. She's not mine to surrender. Then we take her. Cassius raised his hand. The army charged. They hit the castle walls like a tidal wave. Vampires scaled the stone with inhuman speed, blades flashing. The defenders fought back desperately, but they were overwhelmed. Fall back to the throne room, Alaric commanded. Protect Mara at all costs. They retreated through corridors that became killing zones. Celeste and Constantine fought like demons, holding choke points while others fled. Mara ran, her heart hammering, Lyris pulling her along. The king needs you alive, Lyris panted. Nothing else matters. What about him? He can take care of himself. But Mara saw the truth in Lyris's eyes. They were all expecting to die tonight. They burst into the throne room just as the walls shook. A massive explosion tore through the castle's eastern wing. Stone rained down. Screams echoed. They're using magic, Constantine snarled, blood streaming from a gash on his temple. He's cheating. The throne room doors buckled.
Once. Twice.
On the third impact, they shattered. The Ash Prince walked through the debris, his army flowing behind him like a dark tide. But they stopped at the threshold, held back by his raised hand. This is between kings, Cassius said, and the girl who'll decide which one survives. Alaric stood before the throne, wounded but unbowed. His blade dripped with ash. You were always dramatic, Cassius. And you were always weak. Cassius moved closer. Caring about mortals. Making laws to protect them. You should have let us feed freely, rule openly. Instead, you hid in shadows, playing at civilization. We are civilized. More than you'll ever understand. Civilization. Cassius laughed. Look at what it cost you. A century frozen. Your kingdom destroyed. And now, he turned to Mara. Your life rests in the hands of a frightened paramedic who doesn't understand what she's holding. I understand enough, Mara said, stepping forward. Her voice shook but held. I understand you'll kill anyone to get power. I understand you destroyed my home, terrorized my family. And I understand that letting you win would be the worst choice I could make. Cassius's eyes narrowed. Careful, girl. You don't know what I'm capable of. Actually, I do. She moved to stand beside Alaric. That's why I've made my decision. Every vampire in the room went still. Mara, wait. Alaric started. No, she cut him off. You said it was my choice. So let me make it. She turned to face everyone, rebels and loyalists alike. I invoke the covenant of life debt, witnessed by all. My gift is this. Cassius lunged. Alaric moved faster, putting himself between them. Cassius's blade punched through his chest, through his heart.
No.
Mara screamed. Alaric collapsed. The ring on his finger blazed like a star. Foolish, Cassius hissed. He's mortal now. The eclipse broke his immortality. And you, he yanked his blade free. You're next. But Mara wasn't afraid anymore. She was furious. She grabbed Alaric's hand, the ring burning her palm. Power surged through her, the debt recognizing her intent, her will, her choice. I choose, she said, her voice echoing with supernatural force, a world where vampires and humans can coexist, where predation ends, where turning and feeding die with the old laws. The magic erupted. Light exploded from the ring, expanding outward in a shockwave that consumed everything. The light didn't destroy. It transformed. Mara felt it rush through her, through Alaric's dying body, through every vampire in the castle and beyond, a wave of magic rewriting ancient laws carved into the fabric of their existence. Cassius screamed. His burning gold eyes flickered, dimmed, turned human brown. His supernatural grace vanished mid-step, and he stumbled, suddenly clumsy, mortal. Around the throne room, vampires clutched their chests, gasping as hearts that hadn't beaten in centuries suddenly remembered their purpose. The transformation rippled outward, through the valley, across continents, touching every vampire everywhere. 3,000 years of supernatural hierarchy dissolved in seconds. Then the light faded.
Silence.
Mara collapsed beside Alaric, her hands pressed to his chest wound. Blood, real, red, human blood, poured between her fingers.
No, no, no.
Stay with me. His eyes opened. Silver had become gray, ordinary human gray.
What?
What did you do? Saved you, you idiot. Tears streamed down her face. She ripped off her jacket, pressing it to the wound. Lyris, I need medical supplies. Now. But Lyris stood frozen, staring at her hands. Around the room, vampires were doing the same, discovering mortality, feeling warmth return to cold skin, experiencing the strange vulnerability of being truly alive. I'm human, Constantine whispered. After 600 years. I'm human. Cassius pushed himself to his knees, his beautiful armor now just heavy leather weighing him down. He looked at his hands, at Alaric, at Mara. You destroyed us. No, Mara said fiercely, still working on Alaric's wound. I freed you. No more feeding on others to survive. No more turning people into monsters. No more wars over thrones that shouldn't exist. She met his eyes. You're mortal now. All of you. You can live as humans, die as humans, and stop dragging innocent people into your nightmare. The clans will scatter, Lyris said, her voice hollow. Without the bond of vampirism, without hierarchy. Good, Alaric's voice was weak, but clear. Let them scatter. Let them build normal lives. That's what I wanted. He looked at Mara, a small smile on his pale lips. Smart choice. Don't you dare die on me, she said, finally slowing the bleeding. Not after all this. Wasn't planning to, he winced. Though being stabbed hurts significantly more as a human. Around them, the throne room emptied. Cassius's army fled, no longer an army, just confused people stumbling into a world they'd forgotten. The loyalists gathered their wounded and began the slow process of understanding their new existence. Cassius himself stood slowly. He looked at Alaric with something between hatred and grudging respect. You win, old friend. Though I'm not sure either of us will enjoy the victory. Probably not, Alaric agreed. But at least we'll die honestly. Cassius laughed, bitter, exhausted. Then he turned and walked away, just another mortal disappearing into the dawn. 3 weeks later, Mara sat in a coffee shop in a city far from the castle, far from the chaos. Her mother called every day now, relieved the gas leak investigation was over, confused why Mara had taken emergency leave from work. Mara hadn't figured out how to explain that she'd accidentally ended an immortal species while saving the world. The bell above the door chimed. Alaric walked in, moving with the careful deliberation of someone still getting used to human limitations. He'd traded his archaic clothing for jeans and a simple jacket. Without supernatural presence, he looked remarkably ordinary, just a handsome man in his late 20s, nothing more. You're late, Mara said as he slid into the seat across from her. I got lost. GPS still confuses me, he smiled. How's your family? Settling in. My sister thinks the whole thing was a government cover-up. My mom just wants me to come home. She sipped her coffee. How's yours? Adjusting. Celeste found work at a museum. Constantine's learning to cook, badly. Lyris joined the police force. He paused. Most of the others just disappeared, trying to find places in a world that forgot them. And Cassius. Rumor says he's in Vienna, teaching history. Alaric shook his head. The irony isn't lost on me. They sat in comfortable silence. Outside, the city moved on, unaware that monsters had walked among them, unaware that a paramedic and an ancient king had rewritten reality itself. Do you regret it? Mara finally asked. Losing immortality. Alaric thought for a long moment. I regret the pain it caused loyal people. I regret the chaos he met her eyes. But do I regret being human? Having a future I can actually die in? He reached across the table, taking her hand.
No.
For the first time in 800 years, I feel free. Mara squeezed his hand. So what now?
Now.
He smiled, truly smiled, warm and genuine. Now we figure out how to live. Together, if you'll have a former vampire king as a companion. I did pull you out of a snowstorm. Might as well see it through. They left the coffee shop hand in hand, two ordinary people walking into an ordinary day. Behind them, the supernatural world continued its quiet transformation, monsters becoming human, predators becoming prey to time itself, an ancient civilization learning to simply live. And in that small miracle of change, there was hope. The debt was paid. The gift was given. And for the first time in 3,000 years, the night belonged to everyone equally. The end.